What is going on, all my non-movie buffs? Welcome back to Not a Movie Buff, where we talk movies without pretending to be that one person who always thinks they know more than everybody else. I hope y'all are staying warm, fed, sane, because we've officially crossed into that time of year where the day gets shorter, the weather, it gets extremely disrespectful, and every store you walk into is looking at you like, buy something now. Now that Thanksgiving is behind us, we're in that funny stretch of the year where time doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? You have that small period where every day feels like a random Wednesday or Thursday. You're still eating leftovers that you swore you threw away last week, and you keep checking the calendar like, how is it only December? It's cozy, but chaotic. But the best part of the season is that you can drink hot chocolate at 10 o'clock a.m. and nobody looks at you funny. They're all doing it too. But in the middle of all that, we start something that we don't even realize is a tradition: holiday marathons. Holiday movie marathons are different from every other kind of binge watching. You're not doing it because you're bored or because a new season dropped. You're doing it because something about this time of year makes rewatching old movies feel like hitting a reset button for your soul. December has this vibe that makes even the simplest movie feel like comfort food. It's like the cinematic version of a warm blanket. And if you live somewhere cold, trust me, you're reaching for both. The funny thing is, nobody plans these marathons. They just happen. You'll be sitting there, minding your business, and suddenly you're 4 movies deep into something you didn't even pick on purpose. One minute you're flipping through channels, the next thing you know, you're in the middle of a scene you've seen so many times you can quote it better than the actors. Holiday marathons have the same energy as leftovers. You didn't ask for them, but you're not complaining either. And December does something special for movies. Even ones you haven't watched in years feel brand new again. It's the lighting, the cold, the evenings hitting earlier. Movies hit different when you're wrapped in a blanket and the world outside looks like it's buffering. Today we're diving into the movies that make December feel like December. The ones that keep showing up whether you specifically pick them or not. You have some that are hilarious, magical, and some bring back childhood memories you didn't even realize were still there. But some, they're not even holiday movies, but they fit the season better than the ones that actually are. We're talking about stories that bring warmth, laughter, music, magic, and sometimes a surprising amount of snow, even when the plot has nothing to do with holidays. Because something about the winter season makes certain movies feel right, like they belong here, even if they didn't ask to. So grab a blanket, a snack, and that last piece of pie you swore nobody else wanted. We're getting into the movies that carry us through December without fail. Let's talk about the films that make holiday marathons like a tradition, even if you never meant to start one. Let's kick things off with a movie that honestly surprised me as an adult: Elf. Now, this is another one of those movies that I did not watch as a child. I watched this when I was growing up. I saw, all the commercials and posters for it when I was growing up, but I just never got into it. But my wife, she sat me down one year, she threw it on, and honestly, y'all, I was not expecting to laugh as hard as I did. Elf is a hilarious movie in a way most modern Christmas movies don't manage. It's silly, but it's not stupid. It rides that fine line between goofy and clever, and the wild part is it does it without trying too hard. Will Ferrell in that elf costume shouldn't work. It should look ridiculous, and it shouldn't make the movie feel dated. But somehow, he's so committed to the bit that the entire movie becomes believable purely off his energy alone. Buddy the elf isn't funny because he knows he's funny. He's funny because he has zero awareness of how the world works, and everyone else is reacting like, "Sir, what?" What makes this movie hit especially well for adults is the contrast between Buddy's optimism and the rest of the world's exhaustion. New York City in December is already chaotic enough. Add in a grown man in a bright green suit running around eating gum off railings, the whole vibe becomes a comedy goldmine because there's something relatable about it. Not the gum part, believe me, not the gum part, but the idea of an adult trying to tap back into joy after life has beat them up a little. That can hit with some people. One of the reasons Elf works so well during holiday marathons is that it's endlessly rewatchable. You can be fully locked in or half distracted, but either way, you're going to enjoy it. There are jokes you catch every time, and then there are jokes that you forget about until you hear them again. The pacing helps too. The movie never drags, it moves like someone shook a snow globe, and the characters just had to keep up. And because I watched this one for the first time as an adult, the humor hits differently than when you grow up on it. My wife and I were cracking up at scenes I didn't even know were iconic. The escalator moment, the phone call. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you need to watch it because you are missing out. But watching this together, it gave me a whole new appreciation for it. Like, okay, I finally get why this movie is everywhere every December. Everyone loves it, and I completely understand why. It earned its spot. The other thing that makes Elf a perfect holiday marathon movie is the tone. It's fun, it's bright, chaotic, but it also has this softness to it where you can tell the creators genuinely cared. They weren't just throwing Christmas cliches together and calling it a day. The whole world feels warm, even with the wild energy Buddy brings. It's the type of movie that makes your house feel cozier just by being on. You don't have to think too hard. You just let it play while you settle into that December mode where everything slows down a little. Elf is the perfect mix of laughter, heart, and absolute nonsense, which is the perfect recipe for most people's holiday experiences. It's chaotic in the way real families are chaotic. It's sweet in the way holiday memories tend to be. And it becomes a staple not because it's the best Christmas movie ever made, but because it's a movie that brings joy without forcing it. This is exactly the type of movie that helps December feel like December. The kind of film you throw on, get a few laughs, relax for a bit, and look up halfway through like, man, this is actually kind of great. Coming off of the chaos and comedy of Elf, I want to switch gears into something completely different. A movie that doesn't make you laugh nonstop, but one that hits you in that nostalgic part of your chest you didn't even realize still worked. And for me, that movie has always been The Polar Express. Now, this one isn't funny like Elf. It's not loud or trying to be the cool kid of Christmas movies. The Polar Express is all about atmosphere, the mood, the music, the magic, and that feeling you get when you're a kid and the holidays still feel enormous. And I think that's why it becomes one of those films that people end up revisiting during December without even planning to. It's a comfort movie, just in a different way. Growing up, this story meant something to me even before the movie existed. I read the book as a kid, and that was one of the first times a Christmas story actually stuck with me. Something about that train, the mystery, the adventure, the idea of being taken somewhere magical in the middle of the night. When you're young, it hits. And when the movie finally came out, it translated that wonder almost perfectly. And listen, I gotta tell y'all, when I was younger, I was in choir, middle school, no shame. Enjoyed it the entire time. But y'all, we performed the hot chocolate number for the winter concert one year, and it was awesome. Like, we had full energy, full commitment. It really felt like you were in that scene. The choreography, the rhythm, the showmanship, the memories are just great to even think about. And that's the thing about the Polar Express. It's not just a movie, it's a feeling. It's the first snowfall, the quiet of winter nights, the lights reflecting off everything, the idea that the world slows down even for a minute. It's childlike wonder without being childish. The kind of movie you can throw on when the house is dark except for the Christmas lights, and it just fits. The soundtrack is a big part of that. This movie has one of the most underrated Christmas soundtracks ever. The score is warm and sweeping. The songs hit harder than people admit. And every time that main theme plays, you feel it in your chest. Not because it's sentimental, but because it's familiar. It reminds you of being a kid on Christmas Eve when you were actually excited about the next morning. The animation? I know people usually call it weird and uncanny, and it is, believe me, but the older I get, the more I realize that it's part of the charm. It gives the movie this slightly surreal, dreamlike quality. Not like you're supposed to be fully comfortable, because part of childhood is things feeling bigger and stranger than you can explain. It's like your memories get animated, not perfect, they're not crisp, but real in a way only nostalgia can be. The Polar Express also works as a December marathon movie because of how calm it is. The pacing is gentle. It's not slow, but it's steady. It gives you room to breathe. It doesn't demand your full attention every second. You can watch it while you're wrapping gifts, cooking dinner, just trying to recover from the cold outside. And when your attention wanders, the movie doesn't punish you. You can look back at the screen at almost any moment and instantly know where you are. Something else that stands out is how the movie treats belief. Not in a preachy way, not in a forced way, but in that childlike sense of possibility. December is the one month of the year where adults let themselves believe in small things again. Little moments and little joys, and this movie captures that without over-explaining anything. It invites you into that space instead of shoving it at you. And even though it's a kids' movie, adults low-key get more out of it than children do. Kids see a magical train ride, but adults see a reminder of how fast life moves, how quickly we grow up, and how important it is to slow down long enough to enjoy the season. Not everything needs hype or commentary. Sometimes you just need a movie that lets you feel peaceful for a minute. So, while Elf is the movie that brings the laughter, The Polar Express is the movie that brings the warmth. It's the quiet pause between the noise, the moment of breath in the middle of December where everything slows down just enough for you to remember what the season used to feel like. And that's why it earns its place in holiday marathons. Not because it's the flashiest Christmas movie, but because it's one of the few that feels like a true winter story. Cozy, magical, calm, and rooted in that childlike spark that doesn't go away no matter how old you get. Now, after sitting in the cozy, magical world of the Polar Express, I do want to switch gears into something a little bit louder, way messier, honestly, way more chaotic. The kind of movie that doesn't ease you into the holiday season so much as kick the door down and yell, "Merry Christmas!" And that movie is Home Alone. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't watched Home Alone in decades. Like, genuinely. If you asked me to sit here, break down the plot scene by scene, I'd fail easily. But that's the thing. Home Alone is so culturally baked into December that you don't have to rewatch it every year to understand its impact. The movie replays itself in your mind whether you see it or not. Home Alone is December chaos in movie form. It's loud, ridiculous, and full of injuries that absolutely should have sent somebody to the ER. And yet somehow it's still one of the most comforting Christmas movies ever made. The energy, it makes zero sense and total sense all at the same time. And even though years have passed since I last sat down and watched it, the movie's unforgettable. Kevin's scream, it's burned into everyone's memory. The wet bandits taking hits to the head like they're in a Looney Tunes reboot, it's iconic. And that giant house that no normal family could ever afford unless they were secretly running a hedge fund out of the basement, unbelievable. Well, we're gonna roll with it. The biggest reason that this movie finds its way into holiday marathons is because it's familiar. Even when you're not actively watching it, you know what's happening. It's the ultimate look up from your phone and immediately know the scene movie. You don't have any confusion or catching up, it's just easy entertainment. And unlike some Christmas movies that try to force sentimentality, Home Alone embraces being messy. It's not trying to move you emotionally every 5 minutes, it's just fun. It's the kind of movie that you can have on while you wrap gifts or clean the living room. The movie doesn't need your full attention, but you still enjoy it anyway. The other thing that makes Home Alone special is its multi-generational appeal. Kids think Kevin is a genius. Adults watch it and wonder how social services didn't intervene. Parents relate a little too hard to the holiday stress. And everyone, no matter what age they are, laughs at those traps. Those traps should have put those men in a hospital, but the fact that they walk it off like cartoon characters just adds to the charm. Even with this distance since my last full rewatch, I get why the movie stays in rotation. It's not about the specifics, it's about the feeling. The soundtrack alone can put you into holiday mode. The chaotic energy matches December perfectly, and the story? A kid forced to grow up for a few days, learning independence while somehow thriving, still hits, no matter how old you are. So while Elf brings the laughs and Polar Express brings the warmth, Home Alone brings that wild, energized holiday chaos that keeps the season from feeling too calm. It's the movie you throw on without thinking, the one that gives the room life, and the one that instantly tells your brain, yes, Christmas is here. Alright, so enough injuries, screaming bandits, and Kevin acting like a young Batman around the house. Let's switch to something a little bit softer. Frozen. Frozen is one of those movies that sneaks into the holiday rotation without anybody officially choosing it. Nobody wakes up in December and chooses to start a holiday marathon with Frozen. But if there are kids in the house, you already know what's about to happen. Frozen ends up on TV before anybody ends up saying anything. Even though it's not a Christmas movie, Frozen feels like one because of how it blends with the season. The snowy landscapes, the icy visuals, the winter palace, the cold atmosphere, it all lines up perfectly with December weather. Some may say watching Frozen in the middle of the summer feels random, but watching it when the temperature drops just makes sense. And to that, I say, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't agree, but do your thing. But Frozen, it fills a specific role in holiday marathons. It's the kids' anchor movie, the one that keeps the little ones calm and gives the adults a breather. It's bright, it's colorful, easy to follow, and packed with music that both kids and adults end up humming without realizing it. The soundtrack, it took over the world. Every single household knows Let It Go, whether you want to or not. It's just one of those songs where you hear the first three notes and immediately think, here we go again. Kids belt it out like they're auditioning for Broadway. Some adults pretend they're tired of it, but when that chorus hits, they know every lyric. And as we all know from The Lion King, Disney, they're dangerous with the catchy song. But the music is only part of the appeal. Frozen works during the holidays because it has a calming energy. It's emotional without being heavy. It hits that sweet spot where the story has meaning, but you can still walk in and out of the room without missing anything important. You can cook, clean, wrap gifts, or even scroll on your phone, and Frozen will be fine. And here's the thing adults catch on to. Frozen actually has depth. It's a story about fear, isolation, misunderstanding, forgiveness, and learning how to let people back in, all wrapped in a winter setting. Watching that during December, a month where people naturally get reflective, it can sometimes feel fitting. Kids love it because of the characters and the colors. Adults appreciate it because of the themes. Frozen also pairs well with December because it just feels warm despite all the snow. That's the part people don't talk about enough. The visuals are cold, but the movie feels warm. It's like a movie sized comfort blanket. It's the kind of movie you put on when you want the room to settle down for a minute and let the holiday vibe breathe a little. Frozen doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't overpower the room and it doesn't demand anything from you. It just sits there, quietly doing its job as one of the most consistent winter comfort movies of the past decade. So, while it's technically not a Christmas movie, it's become a holiday season essential simply because December feels incomplete without at least one viewing, whether you planned it or not. So, we've hit animated comfort movies, the nostalgic classics, and the chaotic staples, but now I want to talk about a movie that doesn't just fit into the holiday season, it elevates it. Let's get into Jingle Jangle, y'all. This movie is special. And when I say special, y'all, I mean it stood up and it looked at every other modern Christmas film and said, "Move. Let me show you how it's supposed to look." Because when Jingle Jangle dropped, it felt like a cultural movement. The visuals, they were stunning and the cast is perfect. The music on point. The energy completely unmatched. But the best part, it's unapologetically black without being boxed into stereotypes or watered down for anybody's comfort. It's festive, vibrant, joyful, and it's ours in a way that stands toe to toe with any holiday classic Disney or Hollywood has ever pushed out. Movies like this matter because representation during the holidays isn't always something we get. Usually, Christmas movies fall into the same routines: snow, sweaters, families in matching pajamas, the Hallmark starter pack. But Jingle Jangle feels fresh. It's built on imagination, creativity, color, music, and heart, and it actually feels like a real story worth telling. One of the things I love most is how original it feels. It's not a remake or a reboot. It's not trying to imitate any older Christmas films. Jingle Jangle creates its own universe, a magical, mechanical, musical world full of invention and wonder, and it does it with such confidence and style that you can't help but get pulled into it. The movie feels alive. Everything from the costumes to the set design looks like someone put time and actual passion into it, and that alone sets it apart from a lot of the other holiday movies being churned out. And then there's the music. Every song hits and every performance is memorable. And the vocals, look, y'all, when black people get to sing Christmas music in a movie with this level of talent behind it, you better know it's going to go crazy. The soundtrack is just as much a part of the experience as the story itself, and you can feel that energy throughout the whole film. But what really makes Jingle Jangle such a great December marathon movie is the emotional core. It's about creativity and rediscovering joy and healing from loss and believing in yourself again after life takes its shots at you. Those themes hit differently during the holidays. People get reflective. They think about their year. They start processing things that they didn't slow down enough to deal with earlier. And the movie handles those emotional beats without somehow becoming heavy or depressing. It lets you feel something and feel uplifted at the same time. It also gives something to every generation watching. Kids love the magic and adventure, and adults love the deeper meaning. Families as a whole love the musical numbers and the warmth. Everybody loves the fact that it's a Christmas movie built around black excellence from top to bottom. And here's the thing. A holiday marathon isn't just about the movies that bring nostalgia. It's also about the ones that make you feel good about what you're watching. Jingle Jangle is a movie you can be proud to rewatch every year. It's a movie that adds flavor to the season. And a movie that reminds you that Christmas movies don't all have to look the same or be made from the same blueprint. Jingle Jangle is a modern classic, a real one. The kind of film that 10 years from now, people will still be calling underrated because it deserved even more love than it got. So, yes, When it's December and you're putting together a marathon, Jingle Jangle absolutely deserves a spot. Not just because it's festive, but because it brings something unique and meaningful and joyful to the mix. It's a celebration all by itself. And y'all, the name alone is just great to say. Jingle Jangle. Like, it is just great to say. So put the movie on and enjoy it. So let's see. We've got the comedies, the musicals, the classics, and the family favorites out of the way. But around this time of year, there's also another franchise that people binge, and it has nothing to do with the holidays at all. Let's switch lanes for a minute and let's talk about the Hunger Games, because somehow this franchise fits winter better than half the Christmas movies out there. Let's be real, a lot of people aren't watching the Hunger Games series in July. It doesn't hit right when it's hot outside. Even in real life, the movies drop around this time of year in real life. The Hunger Games, it has winter energy built around it, from the visual tone to the atmosphere to the actual snow that shows up throughout the movies. There's something about the cold, gray, almost suffocating vibe of Panem that pairs weirdly well with December weather. It's not cozy, but it's seasonal. You can be wrapped in a blanket, sipping something warm, watching Katniss fight for her life like, man, I feel this. Part of that seasonal connection comes from President Snow. And not in a political commentary way, but in a storytelling way. Everything about his character feels cold. His voice is cold. His demeanor is cold. His presence feels like the temperature drops 5 degrees every time he appears on screen. Even his name is Snow, like the movie practically labels him Winter Villain number 1. He's a human embodiment of December frost, and when you're watching these movies while it's actually cold outside, the entire franchise hits different. His quiet menace, the way he smirks like he already knows the ending, it all works better when the season matches the tone. The films themselves, they're dramatic, emotional, broken up by tension in the chest kind of stories. The exact type of long-form narrative people gravitate to when they're settling in for the winter. December is when people have time to watch multi-film arcs. It's binge season. People don't want one standalone movie. They want a full journey. The Hunger Games is perfect for that. Each movie builds on the next. The stakes increase, the world expands, and the emotional payoff grows. A franchise like this gives you something consistent to settle into when you want to escape the cold, both literal and metaphorical. And even though it has nothing to do with holiday cheer, it actually balances the marathon out. Not everything in December has to be bright and twinkly, y'all. Some days you're in the mood for a darker, more intense story, something that gives the season a dramatic edge. The Hunger Games does that without dragging you into despair. It's intense, but it's motivating. It's heavy, but not hopeless. Another reason it works during December marathons, the pacing. The movies pull you in and keep you there. You're not putting one on just for background noise, you're committing. It's the franchise you pick when you're ready to actually sit down and get pulled into something. And it still fits the holidays because December isn't just about warmth, it's about reflection. The end of the year has people thinking about their choices, their growth, their battles, the things they survived that nobody else even knows about. Watching Katniss navigate impossible situations, fight for what matters, and hold on to her humanity through absolute chaos, it hits a certain part of the brain at the end of the year. The cold visuals, the flickering fires, the dystopian field, it all blends with winter in a surprisingly natural way. It's like the franchise was unintentionally built for December viewing. So even though The Hunger Games isn't festive, cheerful, or wrapped in Christmas lights, it still belongs in the marathon lineup because December is the one month where long, emotionally heavy, high-stakes stories feel right. They bring balance. They give the season texture. And for a lot of people, they make the holiday break feel complete. Right, so after all this time jumping from one genre to the next, it's worth slowing down for a second and asking a real question. Why do we keep rewatching the same holiday movies every year? Because, let's be honest, everyone has that list. It doesn't matter how many new movies come out or how many streaming platforms drop must-watch holiday releases, people always go back to the same handful of films. And there's a real reason for that. Rewatching isn't laziness, it's comfort. December is the one month where routine feels good. The predictability is part of the experience. Everything else in the world might be chaotic or stressful or disappointing and unpredictable, but that movie that you've seen 20 times, you know exactly what you're getting. It's consistent and safe, and it meets you where you are every single time. Holiday movies become bookmarks in people's lives. Every December, you're not just watching the movie, you're remembering where you were the last time you watched it, and the time before that, and the time before that. The movie stays the same, but you change each year, and revisiting it becomes a quiet way to measure just how far you've come. There's also the community aspect. Holiday movies are social glue. You don't have to explain the plot. You don't have to explain the plot or pause the movie to catch someone up. Everybody knows the beats and they know the characters. It creates an instant shared experience, even if you're not actively talking about it. Just having it playing in the background brings people together without forcing conversation. And then there's the simple truth: rewatching makes us feel grounded. Familiar stories remind us of who we were, who we are, what we value. They remind us that joy can come from small, predictable things, and that some parts of life don't need to be reinvented. They just need to be revisited. For kids, it's wonder. For adults, it's stability. For families, it's tradition. Holiday movies become part of the season, not because they're perfect, but because they're reliable. They give us a break from thinking, planning, worrying, or trying to catch up. They let us relax into something we already know we enjoy. And honestly, that's the entire point of a holiday marathon. It's not about discovering something new, it's about reconnecting with something familiar at the exact time of year when comfort matters most. All right, so that wraps up today's deep dive into holiday marathons. From the chaos to the comfort to the classics, this is what makes December the perfect month to revisit the movies that feel like home. If you've been hanging with me through all this, I appreciate you all for real. But now, next week, y'all, that's a big one. We're stepping into the semi-finale of season 1 with my top 10 movies of 2025. Not the top 10, not what the critics said or what social media tried to hype, my list. The movies that stood out to me this year. The surprises and favorites, the ones I couldn't stop thinking about, and maybe one or two some folks will most definitely probably be big mad about. It's going to be a fun one, and I'm really excited to dive into it. So, if you haven't yet, make sure you follow the podcast, hit subscribe, tap whatever notification button your platform uses, all of it, so you don't miss the drop next Thursday. The semi-finale deserves your ears on day one, y'all. So thank you for listening, whether you're chilling, running errands, recovering from holiday madness, or just vibing. I appreciate you all so much, and you already know how we end this off. I may not be a movie buff, but I'll see you at the movies.